Hey, I'm Nathan Sowell, and this is my response to the group work facilitation case. We're going to talk about group dynamics, which can be broken down into four dimensions by Tozan and Rivas: communication and interaction patterns, cohesion, social integration and influence, and group culture. And then we'll talk about facilitation skills and group work theories. Starting with communication interaction patterns, the group displayed a mix of open sharing and moments of tension and silence. The session began with a good amount of group-centered over leader-centered interaction patterns. Tozan and Rivas indicate that group-centered interactions are genuinely preferred as they increase social interactions and group morale. There were several examples where members freely interacted with each other. Kenneth joined Melissa in sharing fears about being replaced. The group supported Annie with setting boundaries, and several members reassured Katrina that she was not failing. These interactions reflected the development of emotional bonds within the group. However, at other times, interactions between members did not flow freely. Often leaders encourage interactions in response to silence. For instance, Ali asked for reflections after Katrina's story was met with silence, and Mo invited comments about the interaction involving Kenneth after silence. However, it is unclear whether facilitators were allowing enough time of silence for members to reflect and initiate group-centered interactions themselves, or whether Ali and Mo defaulted to leader-centered dynamics in this group and filled the silence. Another missed opportunity for group-centered exchange occurred when Andrew demonstrated what Toza and Rivas called the selected perception screening of Tamra's story so that it was congruent with his belief system, and resulted in him making an appropriate comment. Kenneth non-verbally expressed anger toward Andrew, and rather than allowing the group to explore the moment, Mo shifted to leader-centric interactions by raising his hand to stop Kenneth and confronting Andrew. After Andrew got off the hot seat, the group became more silent, which can be a sign of sorrow, thoughtfulness, or anger, according to Toza and Rivas. Andrew clearly withdrew for the remainder of the session, and the group appeared to take a more leader-centric approach for the rest of the session, which is appropriate for conveying educational content of boundary setting, but it may have been a sign of a shift in their interaction patterns. Moving on to cohesion. Despite these moments of rupture, the group experienced periods of strong cohesion. For example, Melissa's candid reflection about her daughter's behavior and her feelings of shame created a safe space for Kenneth and Tamara to disclose similar emotional struggles. This reciprocal vulnerability reflects Yalom's emphasis on universality as a key contributor to cohesion and therapeutic groups, and it occurred several times in the first half of the group, again, showing emotional bonds. However, the incident involving Andrew's inappropriate statement appeared to reduce the group's sense of cohesion. This likely disrupted the group's emotional security, a key element of cohesion, according to Tozan and Rivas. For example, Tamara indicated Ali that she was not okay, and Andrew again withdrew from participation for the remainder of the session. Tozan and Rivas emphasize that members should feel safe to express themselves and take interpersonal risk without fears of sanctions or being ostracized. And Andrew's comment, while inappropriate, offered an opportunity for deeper self-disclosure, repair of the rupture, and lead to better cohesion. However, without shutting down Andrew, there was a risk of escalating conflict, further impacting cohesion. The decision to interrupt Andrew and Kenneth may reflect the group's early stage of development, only week 4 of an 8-week program, still in the early phase of Tuckman's norming stage. So, without sufficient trust established, Mo pragmatically chose to preserve short-term cohesion. However, again, Andrew's withdrawal raises concerns for future cohesion and whether he will continue attending the group. Moving on to social integration and influence. So, social integration is how members fit together and are accepted in a group. Groups cannot function effectively with high levels of social integration, according to Toza and Arribas. Social order and stability are prerequisites for the formation and maintenance of a cohesive group. The group showed several positive social norms, including supportiveness, shared reflection, and accountability. Ali and Mo reinforced group rules after Andrew's inappropriate statement, providing order and reducing risk of escalating conflict. Um, in doing so, they gave the group structure and helped prevent the interaction from becoming chaotic or unsafe. That being said, if the group has an unhelpful norm of avoiding confrontation, Andrew's inappropriate statement could have played a role in changing that unhelpful norm. According to Tozlan and Rivas, tension-producing situations can be the first step in changing norms by creating disequilibrium. However, most chose to reinforce the group norms by referring to the group rules. It is not surprising that Andrew is not conforming. He appears to be more of an outsider, or as Tosin Rivas calls it, a low status member. Low status members are less likely to conform to group norms because they have less to lose. Moving on to the fourth and final dimension of group dynamics, group culture. According to Tosin and Rivas, group culture refers to the values, beliefs, customs, and traditions held in common by group members. The culture of the group shows values of emotional support and mutual respect. The group engage in difficult topics on violence, shame, parental guilt with compassion. However, the interaction with Andrew revealed that this culture is still developing and vulnerable to disruption. The group may not yet have had a chance to fully explore each other's value systems, especially Andrew's, and find common ground, an important aspect of cultural development according to Tosin and Rivas. It appears to be a fairly homogeneous membership in that they share experience of troubles with parenting. This would help culture emerge more quickly. And according to Tosin Rivas, for people who do not yet fully share in the culture, like Andrew, they may feel isolated, which may contribute to Andrew's acting out. Ali's and Mo's reinforcement group rules and shared purpose after the rupture were important in demonstrating group values and re-anchoring the culture, helping most members feel more stable, again, with the exception of Andrew, who ended the group as more of an outsider than he began. Moving on to the second topic about group facilitation skills and roles. Um, Ali demonstrated attending skills, involved group members, linked their communications, and helped them express thoughts and feelings effectively. For example, she noticed Katrina was not engaging as normal, a clue that she was affected by Annie's story. So Ali involved Katrina and linked her to Annie by asking how she was feeling in response to Annie's story, supporting the group goal of peer learning and connection. She also asked others for reflections on Katrina's story. This was effective for Melissa, who linked to Katrina's story and expressed that a challenging child does not mean that you're a bad parent, supporting the group goal of developing co-parenting strategies. Both Mo and Ali demonstrated skills in supporting, responding, summarizing, and synthesizing, including questioning. Ali supported Katrina by normalizing her feelings of hopelessness, reflected her shame, and made her implicit hopes explicit, linking her upset with the disconnection between her hopes for her daughter and reality. This appeared to be effective. Katrina became more regulated, wiping away her tears, and shifted from focusing on her daughter's problems to her strengths. Mo used questioning, but with less effectiveness. According to Tosin and Rivas, questions are better when clear and answerable. Mo missed the mark with Andrew. Her, he explored why Tamara's story provoked Andrew and whether her daughter reminded him of his daughter. And he did it in an unclear way. He prefaced the question with a statement, followed followed with a statement about group rules, um, and then asked the question. After silence, he continued with a second question. This double question often provokes resistance and confusion, according to Tozan and Rivas. And that happened. Andrew didn't respond, and he became flushed, possibly a sign of emotional distress. Mo and Ali also used disclosures, again with uncertain effectiveness. Tozan and Rebus note that disclosure can model risk-taking and openness, but comes with risk. It can shift focus to the leaders and away from group interaction. For example, Ali disclosed that she had a similar experience to Melissa's daughter. Melissa looked at Ali without responding, so making the impact clear but not obviously positive. Melissa may have felt that Ali was siding with her daughter. However, Kenneth then shared about his own struggles immediately afterward, possibly prompted by Ali's modeling. Still, Tozla and Rebus suggest that it may have been more effective for Ali to link others to Melissa rather than share a personal disclosure. Mo disclosed private information about Andrew, saying that he had experienced disrespect from his daughter too. Just 1 second. Okay, I'm back. So this disclosure about Andrew's daughter may have supported peer learning, um, as shown by Tamara. Tamara later tried to link and join with Andrew. However, it seemed highly ineffective for Andrew in particular, who defended himself and disengaged. It likely felt like a violation to Andrew and may have impacted the group's trust in Mo that Mo would keep their stories confidential as well. Mo also used blocking, probing, and questioning, again with mixed effectiveness. He partially blocked Kenneth at what appeared to be a vulnerable moment, interjecting to ask whether it was his children's responsibility to include Kenneth. And responded by looking sad, admitted it wasn't, and then stopped speaking. And he didn't speak again, or at least he didn't try to speak again until reacting angrily to Andrew, at which Mo blocked him again by raising his hand and redirecting the conversation. Mo may have been trying to prevent escalation. Kenneth appeared angry, but we don't know what Kenneth might have said. Mo instead could have supported Kenneth to express his anger in a relational, productive way. Mo then used the skills of modeling, confronting, and directing skills by intervening with Andrew about his inappropriate statement. Since we don't know which group rules were violated by Andrew, it's difficult to assess the appropriateness of this approach. It may have been what the group expected, and it may have prevented further escalation, and helped stabilize the group, especially as Ali reacted with visible shock. For example, Tamara was able to speak up for herself afterwards, suggesting that this had this blocking had a positive impact. However, Andrew became defensive, red-faced, and ultimately withdrew. So instead of confronting, Mo had opportunity to encourage group-centered interaction by asking members how they felt about Andrew's comment, or if that was too risky, to reflect on their own experiences with misbehaving children. In a similar scenario, in a case in Tozo and Rivas, this approach led to insight and repair of a rupture. So we could have explored the other group members' responses to Andrew, and this could have led to a deeper disclosure, deeper sharing, and Andrew and Tamara could have found common ground on their own. And finally, I want to talk about the co-leadership skills and how their co-leadership dynamics impacted the group. According to Tosa and Rivas, co-leaders should plan together and discuss group process issues ahead of time. Ali and Mo did not appear to address Andrew's growing hostility. And again, Tosa and Rivas note that feelings of alienation can lead to rebelliousness and acting out behavior, which often can be avoided by giving individual attention to isolated members. So perhaps with proper planning, Ali and Mo may have prevented Andrew's rupture by engaging him earlier and helping him feel more included. Um, and with Mo being a less experienced group leader, um, it would have been a part of helping him go up the learning curve if they did that planning session. So moving on to the relevant group work theories. Several key group work theories outlined by Tosin and Rebus were on display during the session. So first, systems theory views the group as an interconnected system in which members influence and are influenced by others. This theory was evident in the cascading effects of individual disclosures and emotional responses within the session. For example, Melissa's expression of shame regarding her daughter's behavior prompted Kenneth to share his fear of being replaced, and which then encouraged Tamara to speak about her own struggles. Each member's experience did not occur in isolation, but affected the group's emotional climate and content. Ali and Mo's role in maintaining the balance in the system is also crucial. By reminding the group of their shared goals and purpose, um, they helped restore homeostasis after the conflict caused by Andrew. Psychodynamic theory focuses on how unconscious processes and past experience influence present behavior in groups, according to Ozone and Rivas. In the session, participants' responses revealed unresolved internal conflicts projected into the group. Andrew's reaction to Tamara's story, for instance, may reflect transference, a psychodynamic concept where one's own unresolved issues, in this case with his daughter, can be displaced on someone else, so Tamara's narrative. Mo's confrontation of Andrew, without allowing space for group processing, may have reinforced this defense mechanism of Andrew's, leading to further withdrawal and group disengagement. And Kenneth's visible anger may have been influenced by discussing his family's rejection, followed by the perceived shaming by Mo. By not fully processing these affective reactions within the group, deeper emotional currents can leak out in unexpected ways. And Tamara's eventual ability to reach out to Andrew, despite earlier discomfort, could indicate a breakthrough in emotional insight and the beginning of reparative relational dynamics. This is consistent with the psychodynamic idea that group members can rework early emotional patterns through corrective emotional experiences. Next, learning theory posits that behavior in groups is shaped through reinforcement, modeling, and cognitive restructuring. The facilitators frequently reinforce pro-social behavior, such as validating emotional sharing and connecting members' experiences. For example, when Katrina expressed despair about her daughter, Ali acknowledged her feelings and reflected them back, which led Katrina to reframe her perception and mention her daughter's positive traits. This illustrates the use of cognitive restructuring to support adaptive thinking. However, a missed opportunity occurred when Mo questioned Kenneth about his hopes. Rather than this reinforcing expression, this may have inadvertently punished vulnerability, discouraging future openness. And next, field theory emphasizes the importance of the here and now group experience and the dynamic interplay of forces influencing group behavior. The session exemplified field theory when Ali and Mo directed attention to the present interaction and emotional cues. For example, Ali's response to Katrina's silence and body language encouraged group focus on what was happening in the moment rather than things outside the room. Next, social exchange theory explains group behavior through the cost-benefit analysis, where members evaluate interactions based on perceived rewards and risk. The theory helps illuminate why Andrew may have withdrawn. His attempt to connect through a provocative comment did not yield relational rewards, but was what was met with confrontation and silence. This cost of continued participation probably became too high. Other members seemed more positively reinforced. Katrina, for example, received validation and understanding, which likely increased her willingness to continue engaging. Next, the cognitive behavior model was subtly employed by Ali when she helped Katrina reframe her belief that her daughter's violent outburst meant she was failing as a parent. Ali reflected the underlying emotional logic and guided Katrina to recall her daughter's strengths, facilitating cognitive shift from shame to self-compassion. And finally, acceptance and commitment theory therapy principles were present in the group's encouragement and emotional openness. Melissa's tearful story about her daughter was met with validation from peers and facilitators supporting ACT's emphasis on acceptance of painful emotions and pursuit of values-based parenting goals. So, in conclusion, we covered group dynamics, facilitation skills, and group work theories. Thanks so much for your time.